guys, welcome back to our channel. So today I'm going to show you how I sublimate on a tumbler. Today I'm working on a 30-ounce sublimation tumbler, and because it's a 30 ounce, my printer won't print out a big enough piece of paper to sublimate on. And so I printed out on two separate pieces of paper, and I'm going to show you how I put them together to be able to sublimate on. If you don't know what sublimation is, it is special ink that you print out on special paper to wrap around a tumbler, and you'll see the process here today. So what I'm doing here is just cutting it down using my paper trimmer. You print out the image in reverse, so everything is backwards, and cut it as close to, I cut it on the line on most sides. That way that when I wrap the tumbler, you're not going to see hardly any lines at all, because you don't want any white space unless that's what you're going for. So here I'm cutting off the top of the tumbler, or the piece of paper, sorry, and then getting rid of all of that, and then continuing on to the sides. Now, to use a sublimation printer, there are special sublimation printers out there. However, I just use an Epson ET5150, and it's solely for my sublimation. You cannot, once you use a sublimation ink in it, just use it for regular printing. It's solely for my sublimation printing. Once you convert it over to sublimation, it's solely for that. I mean, I suppose you could clean it out, but that'd be a pain in the butt. So, okay, here I'm just using scissors for, this would be technically the bottom of this side of the paper, because my paper trimmer tends to leave, I don't know, little jagged edges. So I wanted as clean of a cut as possible, because this is where the top half of my paper is going to meet the bottom half. So I want it as clean as possible so that it won't leave as many white jaggedy marks because of my paper trimmer. And then this is the bottom half, and I'm using the trimmer here because I want to leave just a little bit where I'm going to tape the two together. So, excuse me, I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm just going to use some painter's tape to attach the two. This isn't going to affect it at all. I'm just attaching the two pieces together to make it one bigger piece, because like I said, the 30 ounce, it's a 30 ounce tall, skinny tumbler, and my paper will only print 8.5 by 11 to 8.5 by 14. So now that I got the two pieces together, it's one big happy cohesive piece. So as you can see, it's kind of a dull print, and that's perfectly fine once you sublimate onto the tumbler. As you can see in the tumbler that's already been done, it comes out very vibrant. And that's exactly what happens. So don't worry about whenever you print it out how dull it looks. That is exactly what is supposed to happen. So I'm just making sure that I have everything exactly what I want. Trim off any of that extra tape on the sides just so that it won't affect it when I go to sublimate it. So there I'm using heat resistant tape. I line it up on the edge of my paper. This allows me to attach it to the tumbler without affecting the image at all, and attach it to the tumbler to get it as straight as possible. I fold over the end so that when I'm done, I'm able to grab it out and pull it off the tumbler easily. So here is my tumbler. I have cleaned it off with 91% alcohol, and then I'm going to wrap it. And you want to wrap this as tight as possible, because you don't want to, what happens is ghosting. You don't want any of that to happen. You want it to be as crisp and bright as possible all the way around the tumbler. So I'm just lining up as close as possible. It's so hard to get it perfect, but I want to get it as close as possible. So I'm just continuing to line this up as close as I can. And once I do, I'm going to lay it down, and then the two pieces at the end of where I had laid that tape down, I'm going to flip it on the inside and pull it as tight as possible on the inside and down at the bottom as well. And then once those are perfectly attached, I'm going to pull the paper and roll this as tight as I can. I mean, I have arthritis in my fingers anyway, but this will put some soreness into your hands. Once I get that is where I think as tight as possible, I do always have a little bit of an overlap because I don't want to have any kind of a seam where there's a white on the edge. So I pull it, and then I take tape and attach it to itself. And then I'll just add a couple pieces of tape, and then I'll take another, I'm still attaching tape. But then once I get it done, then I take another long piece of tape, and then I just run that all the way down the tumbler again to make sure that I have a nice secure bond with the whole seam. And then I'll run my finger all the way across. I don't remember if I do it right here or if I do it after I get all the tape on. Just to make sure that there's no air pockets in there so that we have a nice crisp attachment from the paper to the tumbler. So then I take another, this uses a lot of tape, by the way. So then I take another and go all the way across the top rim and wrap it all the way around. And this ensures that there'll be no ghosting up at the top. And then once I get all the way around, I just fold that over in itself. And then I'll do the same thing. I'll just kind of, like what you see me do, just rub it against the desk. And then I'll do the same thing at the bottom. And I pull really tight when I'm doing this. And fold that over as well. Now there's different types of heat tape. There's, most common is a yellow. I do not like the yellow. I have found that it has left yellow marks on my tumblers, and I don't like that. Now there's this that comes with most of my tumblers, and I don't like this. It melts in my convection oven every single time, so I never use this thing. Instead, I use painter's tape, and I find I get a much better transfer using the masking tape. So what I do is I just lie down my tumbler, and then I find where the seam overlapped, and I go from where it was folded over. Okay, here's where I'm taking and rubbing my finger to that seam. And once I get that done, I'm going to start putting the transfer tape, or I'm losing my mind today, the painter's tape. And I start up at the top, and I pull this really tight. And this is getting even more of that air out. And I just go all the way down. Now I'm not going to make you sit and watch this in real time. I'm going to zoom past this. And this hurts my hands too. Now, on a typical epoxy tumbler, it takes several days to make. This whole process takes less than 20 minutes to do, which is major in the tumbler world. Now, once that's done, I just tear off the tape, and then I will fold over the edges. And then I'll just rub over the entire tumbler just to make sure that I got all of that tape nice and straight and tight. I go through a lot of tape. Now I'll place this in my oven, and I do about 350 to 400 degrees, and I place it on its side, and I always do the tab on the bottom first, and I do it for 2.5 minutes on this side, and then I'll flip it, nice oven mitt, for another 2.5 minutes. And then once it's done, I find where the tab is, and I always take it off hot. And it's very hot. Once I find where that's at, then I pull this little tab, and this is why I do the tab, and I just cut a little bit, and then I very gently take my X-Acto knife, and I don't dig deep, but I just slightly score the edge of the painter's tape, and I just pull that tab. And what this does is just completely unlocks the whole image of the paper. And then pull off that bottom ring of tape that I had around. And then I'm able to just roll the tumbler right out of the paper. And what you'll see once I pull it out, how beautiful this tumbler came out. And then look at that, hardly any ink left on that paper. I just find that so amazing every single time I do this. And then you can just see how easy that was. And the tumbler came out gorgeous and vibrant, and just like the last one I did. Matching. Now I only have 6 more to do. And here it is. You can see it up close, and it's just nice. And the seam, I mean, you can see the seam a little bit from where, but that's what the image looks like anyway. But and then the back seam, I can never get them seamless like that, but I don't see anyone that can. I really hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.